Now, Daesh has trained hundreds of terrorists to carry out deadly attacks in European countries. A group of Iraqi and European intelligence officials estimate that some 600 terrorists have been trained specifically for external attacks. The officials, who have been tasked with monitoring terrorist cells, revealed that Daesh training camps are located in Syria, Iraq, and possibly the former Soviet bloc. Daesh, which claimed the Brussels bombing, says it has dispatched a, quote, secret cell of soldiers to Brussels for the purpose. An unnamed Iraqi intelligence official said those behind last November's Paris attacks are scattered across Germany, Britain, Italy, Denmark, and Sweden. Thousands of European citizens have joined terrorist groups in Iraq and Syria over the past couple of years. Let's speak to James Morris. He's a political commentator, and he joins us via Skype from Los Angeles. Many thanks for joining us here on Press TV, Mr. Morris. Now, are you at all surprised about this revelation that Daesh is basically training its forces to come back and carry out these attacks in European countries?
Thank you for having me back on Press TV. No, I'm not surprised in the least. I mean, this all goes back to the whole blueprint for the Middle East and the war for Israel agenda in the Middle East that we recently even see Hillary Clinton as actually pushing. It's the Israeli Likudnik unnamed plan, and you can see more about it at my America-hijack.com blog. What's basically happening also with this is that you had former CIA bin Laden unit head Michael Scheuer, and he predicted this. This is basically blowback as a result of the U.S. neoconservative war for Israel in Iraq. There was no Al-Qaeda in Iraq before we invaded Iraq for Israel, the U.S., and it's poodled the U.K. Under heavy Israel influence, lobby influence in the U.K. as well. And, you know, the Labour Friends of Israel and the Conservative Friends of Israel over there in the United Kingdom. And Tony Blair went along with the neocon invasion of Iraq for Israel. And when you took out the secular regime of Saddam Hussein, you basically got Al-Qaeda in Iraq. And then Al-Qaeda in Iraq, morphed into ISIS. And when Obama pursued the neocon agenda for basically sponsoring regime change in Syria with moderate rebels there, quote unquote moderate rebels, some of which were all Nusra Front and defected to ISIS as well. This is just a blowback from the Israel lobby inspired Iraq war for Israel, which was spread to Syria. And now we're seeing the ramifications of that. And then you see these neocon mouthpieces like John McCain and then Hillary Clinton, who just spoke at AIPAC, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, the Israel lobby, and of course the neoconservatives are the upper echelon of that. And she was basically pandering to her benefactor, Haim Saban, who's been pushing this Israeli Likudnik agenda, the unnamed plan, through his Brookings Institute with the Saban Center over there. So it's just a neoconservative Zionist agenda for the Middle East. And now what we're seeing with Daesh, like I said, which is a result of the neocon-inspired Iraq War, is terrorism in Europe, and we're also seeing it here in America. I mean,
so Mr. Morris, you're saying that when the West intervened in different parts of the Middle East and also supported the foreign-backed insurgents in Syria, they knew full well that this is the situation we'll be in a few years, a few months down the line.
That's a very good question. The neoconservatives most certainly did, because that was the plan that they took from, like I said, the Israeli Odejanon, the Israeli Likudnik, and it was translated from the Hebrew by Israel Shahak, the courageous Israeli who basically let us know about this plan. And so the neoconservatives, from Israel, put this into play in the Middle East, and Odejanon definitely knew that this would happen in terms of ethnic and sectarian strife. Now, whether they knew that it would result in groups like ISIS, obviously they're not going to be able to foresee that necessarily, but they knew that there would be tremendous ethnic and sectarian strife. And what that would do is basically have the enemies of Israel being fractured, again, along ethnic and sectarian lines. And the plan couldn't have worked out better for them. I mean, right now we're talking about the federalization of Syria, breaking it up into 3 parts. And Iraq is pretty much heading that direction, with Kurd, Sunni, and Shiite. And like I said, that's the Israel lobby plan, because the neoconservatives are the upper echelon of the Israel lobby. Hillary Clinton speaks for them. The Republican candidates speak for them. Look at Ted Cruz, and instead of basically addressing the main root cause of terrorism, which is U.S. support for Israel and fighting all these wars for and because of Israel in the Middle East. And if you go back to Afghanistan, the U.S. invaded Afghanistan because of Israel, where the U.S. was tragically attacked on 9/11 and earlier at the World Trade Center in 1993 because of U.S. support for Israel. You can look that up in the 9/11 Commission report, and also Israel as a terrorist motivation in James Bamford's A Pretext for War book. It's all there. But the Zionist media in America dances around that point as they have 24-hour coverage basically on CNN talking about the terrorist attacks and how ISIS is coming to America. And we've already seen ISIS in America with the San Bernardino attack, and that was inspired by support for Israel as well. And so, like I said, the Zionist media in America does not convey that to Americans, that Israel is the root cause here and fighting all these wars for Israel in the Middle East, like Iraq, and intervening in Syria for Israel. But, the Americans are the last to know, and that's because they have a Zionist-occupied government and a Zionist-occupied media. And you can go to my America-hijack.com blog for more on this.
Indeed, that's James Morris, political commentator, joining us via Skype from Los Angeles. Mr. Morris, thank you very much indeed for your comments here on Press TV.